Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. What a hot show have I got for you today, because I've got someone who I have grown up with in the back of my family's van. I was keep on trucking down the road with Dad, Mom, and the gang listening to Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. I've got to tell you what, I cannot tell you how many times I listened to the tape over and over and over again. And then more recently, when talking to my dad and going through things, and I asked where the tape was, oh, can't find it. And I was so disappointed, because this was part of it's just part of my journey. And so I was so excited to find out that my guest, who is a talented songwriter, drummer, musician. He is an arranger, a singer, and he has more to share with us today. And I'm going to bring him on the show because I want him to share and us to talk about the things that not only just brought so much joy to my life, but I'm sure also brought much joy to those who grew up or listened to music in the 70s through the 80s. And if you have been following, maybe if you're new in the millennial, your parents. So welcome to the show, Jay David.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much. I'm good. I'm wonderful.
I'm just so excited you're here. I don't mean to step on your toes.
No problem. No problem. I'm doing better than I have any right to, actually. Yeah.
Well, this is just so exciting because, and I know I'm turning red just to tell you, I'm keeping on trucking in the back of the van, pulling on little things, looking for the truckers, and just listening to the tape over and over again. And I'm just so excited. I was wondering, and I'm sure the audience is, how ever did you land a gig like that?
Well, I was the staff drummer at Mercury Records in New York City, and I was playing whenever all of the songwriters, that they had about 150 songwriters, and whenever the songwriters would come up with a song that management thought was good, they went and they had me come in and record the drum parts for it. And then, and along with two other instruments, it would just be a trio, and somebody would sing it. And that's how they would shop those songs to other artists that were looking for material in those days, this being the late 60s. And so I was in the studio all the time. And then I began singing the songs too. And then I began playing the piano and then the drums and singing the song. So I was very busy. And one day this producer came in and he said, "Hey, Jay, listen to this song." And he played me a song called The Last Morning. And he said, "This is a new group called Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. And they don't have a drummer. And they're looking for a drummer. And do you want to go and jam with them?" Well, ordinarily, I was so busy at the time myself, I generally would not have taken the time really to do it. But the singer's voice, as it turns out, Dennis, I had to play some music with a guy who could sing like that. Is one of the great voices of all time. So I did. I went over to New Jersey, which is where I'm from. And I went over there that night and sat in with the group in a little club called the Sands. And it held about, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 people. And we just hit it off immediately. And then the next night I went back and sat in again. And then the next night, and before you knew it, I was there all the time, playing every gig. So that's how it began.
This is pretty neat. And so you really, having landed that, took really the entire group with them into going into fame, because it was right after that they ended up getting launched with Capitol, right? And dropping actually the Medicine Show.
Oh yeah, well you're way ahead now though. But what actually happened was we were signed. We went and auditioned for Clive Davis at Columbia Records, and so we walked on the elevator and went up to, I don't know, the 90th floor. And Clive Davis, I don't know if you know who he is, but Clive Davis was and is huge in the recording industry. And so Clive met us at the elevator, and he walked us into a big hall with 2 seats and a stage. And he and one of his vice presidents were going to sit in those seats and decide whether we had a future in the music business or not. So I realized, well, you know, for our type of thing, we're going to get killed, because he auditioned Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago and all these bands that were, you know, the real bands. And we were a bunch of clowns that played music and had a great deal of fun. So I said, excuse me, Mr. Davis, where's your office? And he said, it's right across the hall. Why? And I just turned around and walked across the hall. So did Clive. They all we walked into his office, and he had one of these marble tables that was kidney shaped. It was gorgeous, you know, I mean, huge. And I walked behind his desk and took his trash can and turned it upside down. And Dennis and Ray took out acoustic guitars, and I played the trash can, and that's how we did our audition in his office. And the next day they signed us to a $750,000 deal.
I love it.
Yeah, that's how that happened. And he wrote about it in his book, Clive, Inside the Music Business. So it was, because we would have been killed. We were not a classic rock and roll band. And if you wanted to hear great music, well, we were coming at it from a whole different point of view. And so that's what happened. And that's how we were signed to Columbia.
How did you start, or how young was it that you began to notice a musical talent within yourself?
Well, I started singing on a radio show when I was 2.5 in New York City. It was called, there may still be one left, a chain of automats called the Horn and Hard Art, and where you would go in and you drop 50 cents into a slot, the coin thing, and you'd open the door and out would come a piece of pie. And they had all meals, and there used to be hundreds of them, but now I'm told there's just one of them left. But it was called the Horn and Hard Art Children's Hour, and I was little Jay David from Bayonne, New Jersey, and so I started singing on NBC radio on Sundays, and it was as natural as talking to you right now, because my mother would listen to like Eddie Arnold or whatever it was that she would listen to on the radio. And she was naturally, my mother was my muse in a sense. She'd sing harmony to whatever she was listening to on the radio. And I just naturally started singing the third harmony part. So my mother and I were both singing harmony to whatever was on the radio. It was just as natural as that. That's why I always arranged all the vocals for Dr. Hook when I was with the band and sang the baritone part.
See, this is just fantastic, because this was innate and it has carried you, I mean, even till now, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but you started doing not only the singing part of things in your life at an early age, but drumming as well.
Yeah, I got, I joined a drum and bugle corps when I was, I think, 7 or so. And I went, St. Vincent's Cadets, I'll never forget them. They were wonderful, national champions. So I went and I joined. My sister had marched with them a few years previous to that. And so I went and they said, okay, here's a bugle. And we think you could be a pretty good bugler. So we want you to take the bugle home with you and just practice and see if you can get any notes out of it. And I said, okay. So I took my bugle home with me, and it hurt. It hurt my lips so bad. And I said, I don't like this. It's not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be fun.
Uh-huh.
Well, about 2 or 3 weeks went by, and there was a knock on the door one day. One of the guys, one of the young members of the corps said, I've come to collect our bugle. And I said, oh, okay. So it came in a case, and I I gave the guy the case, and he opened it up, and he said, okay, there's the bugle. Where's the mouthpiece? I said, mouthpiece? What mouthpiece? I didn't know any better, and they didn't give me a mouthpiece. I was trying to blow through the little hole at the end of the bugle.
Oh, no wonder.
That's why it hurt so much. So that's when I said, well, I'm going to play the drums. I know what drumsticks look like. And so that's what I did. I started playing the drums, and my folks would take me to nightclubs, and I'd sit in with bands and play when I was, I don't know, around 10 or 11. And then I started teaching drums. And although I didn't take any lessons, I had a method that just occurred to me that people would come to me and say, Jay, I don't want to be a drummer, but I broke my wrist, and my doctor wanted me to take drum lessons to strengthen my wrist. Can you help me? And I was 15 at the time. And it occurred to me to say, sure, I can help you. What's your favorite song? And they told me whatever it was, maybe a Little Richard song or something, Good Golly, Miss Molly. And I would tell them, okay, well, listen, next week, bring the 45 in. And 45 is our little record strokes for you.
A little bit bigger than a CD and a little bit smaller than a 33.
Exactly, with the large hole in the middle. And so the woman brought her Good Golly, Miss Molly the next week. I put it on, and I had her play along to her favorite song. And before you know it, she's lost in the song. So it wasn't a matter of reading eighth notes, it was a matter of playing Good Golly, Miss Molly, and so that's how I taught. And then I joined the Navy, and the Navy asked me to, they figured I was, because by that time I was already marching in St. Patrick's Cadets drum corps. And the Navy thought I was going to go into the Navy Drum and Bugle Corps, but I asked them, can I go to hospital corps school? And they said, yeah, sure, okay. So that's what they did. They sent me to hospital corps school, and as it turns out, the admiral of the 9th Naval District, he looked like God in dress whites with all the gold and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He calls me into his office, and I just got out of boot camp. I've been in, 9 weeks. And so he calls me in, he says, David, we're very appreciative that you're going to go to corps school, and we're starting a drum and bugle corps, a hospital corps drum corps, and we want you to be the drum major. So that's what I did. I did that when I was going to corps school. And so it was, music's always been a savior for me.
It absolutely has. Thank you so much for your service as well.
Thanks for yours.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I am really so excited. It's carried you from the very beginning of your life, and it's just been so sustaining for you with all of the things that you've been doing. And I'm going to gather that just like everyone, we've all had our ups and downs. And with those who are that have creative minds, such as yourself, where you write music, you can hear it, you can sort of visualize it as well, that in those tough times, you're able to utilize that strength to not only get you through, but others around you as well.
Well, thank you for that. You're absolutely right. I used to tell people I hear the songs in my head before we record them, and they were like little movies to me. For instance, I'll tell you how we used to record with Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. I would go in, and Dennis would go in, and Dennis was playing bass then. He'd play the bass track, and I'd play the drum track. And then he would go in again, and I would go in again, and I'd play the piano, and he'd play the guitar. So just the two of us laid down the whole basis for the song. and we built it from there. And then I would arrange the vocals. Dennis would sing a lead, or Ray, but mostly Dennis. And that's how we built our songs. That's how we built Sylvia's Mother. It's how we built Carry Me Carry, which is one of my favorite songs. And all of them for the 3 albums I was with the band.
This is really incredible. Now, while you were with them, was this the challenging time when the cover of the Rolling Stone came out and BBC would not let that air due to the challenge with possible copyright infringement with the Rolling Stone magazine over there in Europe?
No, the problem was that we said cocaine, and the BBC wouldn't let any songs on the air where the word cocaine was used.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, so when we were on television doing the song, we had to, for the BBC, we had to change it. I got a freaky old lady named Golden Gady. So we had to do it like that, you know. It wasn't anything to do with Rolling Stone. They were very happy, you know. All of a sudden they had a hit record. They don't sing, we did.
Well, I'm glad that you're clarifying that, because that's kind of the scuttlebutt, and it's better to know from the source than it is from anywhere else.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's what happened. They you know, the word cocaine. Ooh, don't say that.
And the Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show did make it on the cover.
Yeah, well, they did a caricature of 3 of us. Bill and Dennis and Ray, but George and I were not on that cover. But it, you know, it was beyond me. You know what I mean? It's going to be what it is. So.
After you left Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, what happened after that? Because I know weren't at one time then you were with David Crosby.
Yeah, I put a band together with David Crosby, and he brought the guitar player named Slick Aguilar in, and I brought Merle Saunders' son, Tony Saunders, the bass player, and Austin DeLone, the keyboard player. And so we put the band together like that, and it was a heck of a band. And we toured for about 2 years. And David's hobby, of course, was, you know, almost killed him, and very difficult to tour while he was going through all that. And but we did.
And he's
I was the only witness to
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that I was the only witness to his bust in Dallas. And that's what, yeah. I was warming up. Well, it's a drug story. I don't know if I should get involved. I'll tell you what you can do. You can read David's autobiography, Long Time Gone, out on double 3 chapters of it, where I explain the whole thing there. But suffice it to say that the club filled up, the dressing room filled up with about 20 cops, and David was in the corner getting high, and I was drumming on my knee, which I do before the show, before the electric show. David had already done. See, the show was David would go on by himself and do an acoustic show, then there'd be a break, and then we would all go on and do the electric show, and it occurred between the acoustic and the electric shows. So. Yeah, rock and roll can be very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and he did recently come out and speak a little bit about what had happened and different things. But I know that oftentimes when you're young and you look at stars or rock and roll bands and you see this group or you see this star, this icon, and you think, I want to be like them. You idolize them. You don't really realize what's happening always behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And so the image of fame or money or really getting your talent out there sometimes seems like that'll never happen to me, even if you do hear something. But in reality,
that's just naive, really. It's part of the illusion. We're people just like everybody else. We just happen to make music, and people happen to like what we did, and so they want to see us do it. And that's, I'm just like everybody else. I'm just I make the same mistakes we all make. I'm human, and so's Crosby, so's everybody.
Yeah.
So it's an illusion. It appears that way. Somewhere right now, somebody's looking at you and they're saying, "Oh, I hope I get the same kind of show Rebecca has one day. That looks fantastic." And that's how human nature is. Sure. When I was a kid, I watched Louis Bellson. He was playing with the Dorsey Brothers band. He took Buddy Rich's place for just a weekend, and I was a little kid. My folks managed a nightclub up in Massachusetts, and I saw that, and that's when I fell in love with the drums. But then I saw a young man with a horn, and I fell in love with the trumpet, and that's when I wanted to play the trumpet, but they didn't give me a mouthpiece. So illusions. You can make them real. I did,
Yes, so. You did. And so with that, I want to ask you too, what does it take? How much practice does it take to get this skill mastered, or to even, as you're going, say, on tour or to create an album, to really master that and get it to as close to perfect as you want it, not necessarily everybody else, but you yourself as the creator of that piece?
Well, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I would play all the time. And I guess it started from when I was a little kid sitting at the dinner table, playing with the knives on plates and glasses and stuff, drove my family crazy. But Mom, would you drink a little of that milk? It's not in tune, Hey, come on, man. But that's how I was. And so it was a labor of love, and there's nothing stronger than that. So it never occurred to me that it was practice until later, until it was full ensemble practice. And I'm a pretty quick study, so I get things, I get them pretty quickly. And so, but as far as my own instrument to myself, it was just my folks got me a set of drums, and I would take them. They'd be up in my bedroom, and I would play every day. I was in grammar school, and I came home from grammar school, and I'd be playing along to Count Basie, April in Paris. It was just wonderful, just working it all out. That's what I did.
When you do things that you love, it's really not practice. You just embrace it. You go with it. You want to do more. But what's really interesting too, and what made you and still makes you a great teacher, is that you're able to pass along the things that you love to someone else and put it in a term to them that is not like making it seem so schooled. So for example, when you said, instead of doing it in the eighth, let's do it like this, play this song, you're getting someone to enjoy the art of learning. And I think that that's a really neat technique, because oftentimes we don't do that anymore. We want to go, this means this, you study this, now do this. And so it doesn't always become absorbed so easily when we do it that way.
Well, not everybody wants to be a drummer that wants to learn how to read. So rather than mama, dada, mama, dada, mama, dada, and you get faster at it, well, there are those. I knew guys that could read. If a fly pooped on a piece of paper, these guys could read it. That's how great a reader they were. Me, play me the song, and I think I can get you a hit. That was my attitude, and I did. I was doing a demo session, or at least I thought it was a demo session, for this fellow that came over from Italy, and he wrote an astronaut song. Okay, and so he was so nervous he would keep coming in the studio, so they locked him in between the two studio doors, and he's looking through the window as we're playing. Well, that song, when we got finished with it, he brought it down to NASA, and it was made the official astronaut song. And we locked him in between the doors, because he was so annoying. you never know what's going to happen with stuff. Never, not ever. You know.
What
So,
has been the most surprising thing that has happened to you? And I don't want to talk about current things just yet, but from
okay.
the time that you hit it big up until till just recently, not with what we're going to launch here in just a few minutes, but the most surprising thing, do you think, that has happened?
Well, the most surprising thing that happened to me was, talk about illusions. I thought, if I ever have a #1 record in the world, I'm set for life. That's what I thought.
Oh,
And the day that our song Sylvia's Mother hit #1, I cried, because I realized I couldn't have known any better but it actually happened for me. And I realized, while it's #1, I'm already thinking about what are we going to record next, because it's not, there's no goal line. It's not like football or baseball. You don't hit a ball hard enough that goes over a fence and you get one. You rush a football over a line and you get 6. Well, music isn't like that, and they still apply numbers to it. But it's not an event. It's a process. If you're really serious about it, which I am. So while yes, that was great, #1, but I actually cried, because the illusion went away, and it was replaced by the reality, and that was even sweeter. Which was, now we're on to the next, and on to the next, and on to the next, and ad infinitum, hopefully.
So this is a really good point for me to share with those in the audience, that by perseverance and envisioning a dream and pursuing that dream, you can actually achieve it. There is nothing that, by continuing to move forward, that will stop you from achieving it. You just have to keep doing it and keep on.
Yeah. Achieving it would mean that it was an event. And for me, there were certainly some wonderful events that have occurred, but it was the process, a life. I'm a drummer for life. I always have been. I always will be. And I'll always make music. I have a little recording studio in my house here, and I'll be recording later today. It keeps me young. It keeps me alive. It keeps me vibrant, and it keeps me. I don't ever listen to any other music out there. I listen to what it is I'm recording. And some people say, well, you got to know what's out there, your competition. There is no competition. There never has been competition. There is influences, but there's not competition. And anybody that thinks that you're going to be better than somebody, who's the best guitar player, it's not about that. Everybody has their own style, and everybody has their own magic and thunder. And you like some people's thunder better than other people's. Cool. That's how taste is developed. So it's never a matter of, I like him but not him. Okay, some people got to relax a little bit on that.
This is really important what you're saying, because comparing ourselves with other people doesn't allow us to be genuine and true to embracing the talents and the uniqueness about what we possess within ourselves. And ultimately, when we do that and we can push those things to the best of our ability, we can really surprise ourselves with the things that we can do.
The thing is to remain authentic.
I like that.
To remain authentic is the thing. That's the whole thing for me. I remember what it was like to want to be like somebody. I know it's not like I never felt these things. I have felt them. I have lived through them. And so, but I would say, if I would to offer any hint of what to do, it's remain authentic to yourself. And own your mistakes and embrace them, because that's
Mhm.
all they are, is mistakes.
That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. Now, being true to yourself and being authentic has led you to another journey in your profession, your career, your passion, and you recently released an album, The
Hmm.
Road, and I
Yeah.
am really excited about several of the tracks on there.
Okay.
I want to share with you. I would like to say every name on there, but I'm going to say one because of how popular one of the songs was with Dr.
Hmm.
Hook and the Medicine Show and the cover of the Rolling Stone. So
Yeah.
when I heard the cover of AARP, I was absolutely beside myself because let me tell you, Jay, this took it. Okay, the song itself was absolutely right on the mark. But what it told me was a story of my life with you and a
Mm.
story of your life through everything and where it had been. And this was pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I knew that once I started seeing Bob Dylan's picture on the cover of AARP, and I realized, wait a second, this is, yeah, all of us got older. And uh, as George Cummings once wrote, and I played for you and you paid for me as we got old together. And that's exactly what it was. We've all gotten those of us of a particular generation and those who followed, nobody's getting younger. Like,
Yes.
so, and I brought the song to AARP, and they said, "Oh no, we're just going for the upwardly mobile over 50s." And I thought, well, you people are missing the point. You're missing the point.
Yes.
I may bring it back to them again. It's very important to the demographics are changing, and there's more older people now, and we have some wonderful opportunities to uh, carry this forward, and that's what I'm trying to do, is pay it forward in the only way I know how. And so, I mean, yeah, I was a big rock singer, but now, now I got arthritis, so
Yes.
that's why I sang about it. I wrote it that way.
Well, it was just, I mean, it was truth. They say there's truth in humor. So it has comedic value
Yeah,
that is true, but
yeah.
it resonates with all of us that were there with you on your original journey.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just a parallel of your life with our life at the same, and when we're all moved forward with this, it's a very, there's so much to this one particular song, while there's so much value and merit in the others, and they really hit home. In fact, there's even one of the tracks um, that kind of has an 80s theme to it too. But I've got to tell you, all of them are fantastic. This one just, I think, really embraces the entire journey. And I was so excited to hear this because
Okay.
I was just completely encapsulated.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's what I intended. It seemed like a good idea, and I had it in plan, you know. And so that's why I wrote it. And of course, it's Shel Silverstein's music, but it's my words this time.
Mhm.
Um, and who else better to do it than me?
Yes.
Because I got old, and so let me sing this.
Well,
Let me.
that's what I mean. All of it, the whole entirety of it. I mean, you can come from this with so many different angles and perspectives, but it's everything and more. And so it's really exciting. And I would like you to share with the audience. I can share it, but I would like you to share with the audience how they can get a hold of this album. I'd prefer that they go to your website than anywhere else so that you are able to. But
Well, you know what? Um, you can reach me via Facebook. I'm on Facebook. You can reach me that way. Um, J David, Jaydavid, and uh, if you see an older fella on the picture, that chances are it's me. And so you can contact me via Facebook. You can contact me. If I knew you, I give certain people my address. I live in Los Angeles, but you can reach me via Facebook, or I'll give out my email address. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. J. David, 1942. That should tell you something. 1942 at yahoo.com. Just send me an email, and I'll sign it for you. And I'll personalize it for you, and I personally will mail them out to you.
I love it. See, this is much better than just going down to the store and trying to buy a copy. This is so much more meaningful. Now, also, in addition to this, you have not stopped. You have something else you're working on, and I'd love that to be shared with the audience as well.
Okay. Well, I started taking acting lessons. I mean, this is Los Angeles after all. And my first acting job was, they hired me, they gave me a co-star billing along with Billy D. Williams and Tim Conway, God bless his soul, to play 3 retired showbiz personalities on this TV show called Glee. And
yes.
So yeah, they paid me a lot of money and gave me co-star billing, and it was my first acting job ever. You know, it was great. So I've been in a few TV things and a few movies, and the nature of the state of that art these days is the major motion pictures put out maybe 100, 125 films a year. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is done in short films, and short films are done and then they're brought to festivals where buyers are, and they will underwrite. If they think it's a great 16 minutes, they will underwrite the rest of it. And that's how independent films get done. That's how Netflix is doing it. It's how HBO was doing it. So that's the nature of that movie game these days. And so I'm in a bunch of those. I played a serial killer in one. I killed 48 women and 1 man, and it's called The Unforgiven, and it's no, The Unconfessed. I beg your pardon.
The Unconfessed. Okay.
The Unconfessed, and there are 6 killers, me being the serial killer, that are interviewed by a forensic scientist who wants to, and we were never caught. So explaining what our life was like to a forensic scientity.
Is this based on a true story?
No, I hope not.
Okay.
Because these guys would have been caught already, right? You know, if you haven't confessed, nobody even knew you did it. Now you're explaining that you did
Well, they could be at the end where they don't show that they eventually got caught or something. They just ended up doing.
Yeah. Well, it's very scary. My particular part, I play a guy named Tick, who's from the Deep South, and they put dark circles under my eyes and stuff, and I look crazy, and that's good. I like that. I love doing that stuff because it. I stabbed her, and then I cut his throat too, and I got laughing, and I'll send you a clip of that if you want to see me being nuts.
Yes, absolutely, I do. And one of the things too, Jay, is oftentimes people think, and I've heard this repeatedly, that I thought about getting into acting, but I heard anybody over 40 can't do it, so I've just kind of given up.
Oh, don't do that.
Yes.
Don't do that. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because as long as they make pictures about real people, there's room for us folks to get involved. They have to hire us.
Yes.
You know, now those movies that are put out that they want to show nothing but beautiful young people, that's nice. That's nice.
Nice.
A film version of Baywatch. Oh, great.
Yes.
But if you want to show real life, if you want to make a Midnight Cowboy, you can't have all beautiful people. You need
That's right.
people. And that's why there's still, so that's why, I mean, heck, I'm still doing what I'm doing. And I'm enjoying that a whole bunch, the character roles. I love that stuff.
This is wonderful. And
Yeah,
you have more.
It's cool.
You have more than that too, coming up.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing some voiceovers now as well, and there's one coming out Labor Day at the end of this month, I guess. This being August 2019. There's a wine that you still see in stores called Barefoot Wine, and their logo is a footprint. And the two owners that founded and funded the firm sold a ton of wine that way. It was cheaper than all the rest of the wines, and they just made a ton of money. Now, they wrote a book about it when they sold the company for a lot of money, I'm told, but I don't know specifics, not my business. But they did write a book about it, and it went to #1 on a bestseller list at the New York Times. And then they decided to do something which is really hot right now, to use today's term, which is a talking book. And in other words, they have actors doing the dialogue from the book. So you can buy, it's like Audible. I have Audible, and Audible is books being spoken, because oftentimes I don't have any, I can't read, but no, it's not that. It's books being spoken. You can listen as you're doing something, not driving, that'll get you in trouble. But so I'm playing 4 roles in the audio book is what I'm doing. And everything from a Danish guy to the owner of a winery to also, so it's fun to do that. It's fun, a lot of fun to do that. I love that stuff.
Jay, this is really exciting. You've got a lot of great things coming out for us to see. You are on the move, just like you always have been. It's been such a pleasure for you to be here.
Thank you.
Yes, you've brought a joy to my life since I was very, very small, and you've continued to do that. And I thank you personally for that, as well as here, and for doing that to millions of other people as well.
Thank you. God bless you for having me today. And wait a second, I have a phone call. It's somebody that I owe money to. I'm not paying. No, I'm just making that up.
This is like the only kind of calls that we get now anymore is, do you want to buy something, or we have to collect money for something else, which really isn't something that you owe them money more for anyway, because they will say that it's either the Social Security office or the FBI anyway. So
if it is the Social
one
Security,
or the other,
just tell them, no, you're not, because Social Security never calls you up.
That's
they contact you another way. So those are scam phone calls, folks.
That's right.
Yeah. And I generally have some fun with those phone calls. Whenever I get one like that, I say, okay, why don't we meet at 2:00? Okay. And they don't want to meet you. They just want you to send them money, and it's, so they generally, I get them to hang up before I do. So, it's crazy, but I have a lot of fun. Life is good.
Life is good.
God bless you, Rebecca. Thank you. And God bless all y'all for watching this today. Isn't she beautiful? It's great to see a beautiful young lady do a good thing. So I'm very happy I was on with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. And for all of you who are watching and listening, go to jdavismusic.com. you definitely want to see what he's got going on there. Get a copy of The Road, but you want to get it from him direct so he can sign and send it out to you. And
I will.
his email is jdavid1942@yahoo.com. You definitely want to connect with him there and on Facebook. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille. I ask that you share this episode with your friends, your family, all of those that you know on social media, and all that you don't. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye.